Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episodes 7 and 8 of Total Drama Pahkitew Island. This is The Pits and 3 Zones and a Baby. So since we're doing 2 episodes all at once, it's going to be a little complicated if I try and go from one to the other. So let's just sort of talk about each of the characters over the course of each episode. And let's start off with Max. Now, Max has actually impressed me these episodes simply because here's where he's really, as a character, started to become genuinely more interesting. Just when I first looked at him, it's like, oh, they just basically made teenage Dr. Evil from the Austin Powers movies. Now, when he started, they started bouncing him off Scarlet. That did a lot to make both of them more interesting characters, and I've seen a couple of people compare them to Shigo and Dr. Draken from that Kim Possible show. I've never watched that show, so I'm not really in a position to make a judgment on that. But as I said, it did really do a lot for their respective characters. We see just how kind of clueless Max really is, and that Scarlet really is the much more intelligent and probably, from what she did to her brother, probably the more evil of the two. But anyway, these episodes really kind of gave Max a little bit more depth. For instance, we found out in 3 Zones and a Baby that Max apparently really, really likes babies. And when they're down in the caves together, seeing Max get bit on the butt by the robot alligator and then demand that Scarlet suck the poison out. If you don't realize that that was a reference to the movie Caddyshack, I feel very sorry for you, because that movie is absolutely hilarious. I mean, it's an old movie. It's older than I am, but it is hysterical. And of course, we continue to see that Scarlet is getting more and more frustrated with Max, and it really wouldn't surprise me if she decides to once again take another crack at engineering his downfall. And that could be interesting, both if it succeeds and both if it fails, and Scarlet ends up being the one that gets the boot. But we'll have to see there. Let's see. Not a whole lot to say in the first episode about Topher, as that was usually just more focused on him continuing his plan to get Chris kicked off the show and himself made the host. Of course, this all comes to a head in the 8th episode, and unsurprisingly, it all blows up in his face and he gets booted off the island. I mean, we all saw that coming. Now, I did like that Chris was the one who was really manipulating Topher from behind the scenes, but again, this really wasn't a huge surprise, as we saw that Chris caught on to what Topher was trying to do pretty quick, and he even says to Chef, Topher's scheme is what I would have done in that sort of situation. So, you have to imagine that probably when he was that age, Chris was an awful lot like Topher, and if I remember correctly, probably in a boy band. But anyway, not really sad to see Topher gone. He was not the most well-rounded of characters, so yeah. And now that let's move on to Sugar. Now that Ella is gone, they've just sort of fallen into the idea of Sugar is gross and will eat anything as her character shtick. And while watching her eat the slug and having the light come out of her belly was kind of funny, I don't think this has a lot of mileage for her as a character. So I have the feeling that the axe is going to fall on Sugar pretty quick. Then again, Sugar has demonstrated a certain kind of low cunning that, as I said, she's kind of a trailer park Heather. Well, she's kind of demonstrated that sort of, crude cleverness that rednecks are sometimes known for demonstrating. So, that is a point in her favor. But again, Sugar is no Scotch. She's not going to make it. Let's see. Who else do we have to talk about? Jasmine. Well, the first episode really kind of focuses on her obviously having some serious claustrophobia. And that's all well and good. Playing on the camper's individual fears is, kind of Chris's job, and he's very good at it. It's just that this seems very, very reminiscent of what they did in season 1 with Gwen. I mean, even then, it wasn't that Gwen. I can't remember if Gwen had full-on claustrophobia or if it was just a specific fear of being buried alive. But at the end of the day, it's really the same thing. And then in the second episode, Jasmine is very gung-ho about winning and really doesn't seem to care very much about the fact that she's putting babies in danger. I did like that at least one of the characters, I think it was Sky, said, with the whole carrying babies through the obstacle course, is this legal? Well, obviously in the real world something like this would never be allowed, but this is the total drama world, and as we've seen, people will do anything to get on TV, and yeah, I have no problem believing that there are parents out there in total drama Canada who would totally be willing to endanger small babies just for the chance to get them on television. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people here in the real world, around the world, who would be perfectly happy to endanger small babies just to get them on television. Yeah, well, that's enough said about that. Dave, man, Dave, they're really putting Dave through the ringer with his germ phobia. If you're following me when I was doing the live tweets of these episodes, I kind of compared Dave to a younger, more together Adrian Monk from the TV show Monk, and of course one of Monk's defining characteristics was that he was intensely germophobic. But Dave's actually handling all of this about as well as somebody could really be expected to. I mean, he freaks out, but he does for the most. He's hung in there. Now the whole team switching with Sky thing. Well, this is really not a big deal, but it's just something they're kind of doing to further their relationship. And we've even seen that Sky, despite having been switched to the opposite team, was willing to help Dave once, and it's not wouldn't be a big surprise if she was willing to do it again. But again, that's sort of setting up the stage for further conflicts between her and her new team. So again, good stuff there. And let me see. Who else? Who am I missing? Yeah, I don't really have a huge amount to say about what's going on with anybody else. I think that really kind of covers it. Oh, yeah, Sean. Jeez, I almost forgot to talk about Sean. First of all, I like that Sean is really kind of getting away from his zombie obsession, because it makes him a much more well-rounded character. And he's basically made it his quest now to try and make things right with Jasmine. And again, this, as I said, it adds some depth to his character, which serves his character extraordinarily well. It makes him a much more interesting character. It shows that as a person, he's grown. He's put aside this ridiculous paranoid fantasy that he's let kind of take over his life, and is focusing on something that's real and tangible. And it's like trying to make things right with this girl that I've done wrong to. And you can sort of debate exactly whether or not Sean should just sort of accept that he screwed up and move on, but it's no fun if he just does that. So yeah, I think that kind of covers everything that I had to say for these episodes. Again, I'm going to be able to live tweet tonight's episode, but after that, I don't think I'm going to be able to do any total drama stuff for at least until the weekend, and probably until next Monday, simply put because Thursday and Friday I am going to be running myself ragged. I am mentally and physically going to be exhausted from doing job certification stuff, and I'm probably going to need the weekend to recover. If you can see these bags under my eyes, they're even worse than usual. But anyway, I will get all the episodes of this season reviewed, and that is it, guys. I will see you on Twitter later tonight. I know that there was an episode that aired yesterday. I'm going to get a review of that up pretty soon. And until next time, take care and have a good one.